Greetings all, Ferrariman601 here. Welcome back to another 1/400 scale diecast model aircraft review of this from Gemini Jets, the Airbus A350-900 here in Luftwaffe colors. We've taken a look at the A350 before on the channel, and it became one of my favorite models straight away when I got that first Air France version that we took a look at before. It really is a very distinctive aircraft, and obviously it is one that is a product of the modern era, and it will remain to be one of the faces of civil aviation in the modern era as the trends continue to go toward the side of efficiency and range rather than just raw passenger or raw cargo capacity. Although both of those numbers are also steadily increasing in the wide-body twin-engine scheme as the designers get smarter about how these aircraft work, and they get smarter about how to use new-age composite materials in aircraft construction, and the engine builders get better in terms of finding more efficiency for how many gallons of fuel burned per hour. So really, the sky is the limit, if you'll pardon the pun, in terms of what we could do with this wide-body twin-engine scheme. However, the A350, it has become one of the stalwarts of the skies, with almost 400 of them currently flying as of today's date, and, well, governments have also taken notice of that. Here, the government of the Federal Republic of Germany buying a couple of these for VIP transport, both in the government sector as well as in the military sector. This, technically speaking, is a military aircraft, and therefore it has been released under the Gemini Macs sub-brand of Gemini Jets, but it is more or less the same as the civil variants of the A350-900 that Gemini Jets have been releasing for the past couple of years, and also very similar to the Air France A350-900 that we took a look at here some months ago. However, let's take a closer look at this Luftwaffe-liveried Gemini Jets A350-900 in 1/400 scale. Before we take a closer look at this model, let's take a look at the box from whence it came. Coming in from screen right, here we go with the Gemini Macs box. Yes, this one, despite the aircraft being an Airbus A350, they have gone for the Macs brand on this one because it is a military VIP transport after all, but it is the Airbus A350, quite obviously, with your rendering of the aircraft front and center on the top panel. Gemini Macs logo, made for collectors by collectors, trademark, and then, of course, Airbus A350-900, and then the operator of the aircraft, Luftwaffe, the German Air Force. 1/400 scale die-cast model aircraft. On the bottom right and the bottom left is our look inside tab. That's the front top panel. Now the top panel. Gemini Macs. Adult collectible model. Warning: contains small parts. Unsuitable for children under 14 years of age. Item number is GMLFT099. Obviously, Gemini Macs, Luftwaffe there. 099. Cool. Left side of the box, there we are. Another rendering of the aircraft, smaller than the one on the front, of course. Airbus A350-900. Gemini Macs, 1/400 scale die-cast model with our item number. Then again, bottom panel, Gemini Macs logo. Then the selling points for the model. Left side panel, Gemini Macs, item number, rendering of the aircraft once again. The bottom of the box, here we go. Rendering of the aircraft in a rather steep climb, as real as it gets. All of the other selling points that Gemini Jets have. Their links for the social media and corporate websites. And then here we go along the bottom left. Copyright 2020, Gemini Jets, Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, made in China with the recycle thingy. Across the front of the box, here we go with our look inside tab. Pop that open. There's the tray where the aircraft sits. And then our write-up, which reads Airbus A350-900. The A350-900 was originally conceived back in September 2004 as a planned successor to the successful A330, A340 line. The project was officially launched on 6 October 2005. It is Airbus's first design encompassing the use of carbon fiber throughout the structure of the aircraft to increase efficiency by reducing weight and improving aerodynamics. First flown on 14 June 2013, the initial aircraft has now been delivered to launch customer Qatar Airways, which took delivery of their first aircraft on 15 January 2015. The A350 is a large aircraft and can seat up to 550 passengers in an all-economy high-density configuration with provisions to have up to an 8,000-mile range. The initial -900 model will feature a 219.5-foot fuselage length. Two later models will consist of a shorter -800 model with a 198.6-foot length and a stretched variant to be identified as the -1000 with a 242.4-foot length. All aircraft will share the same 213-foot wingspan and will feature similar Rolls-Royce Trent XWB new technology engines. So obviously, a little bit of a dated description here, despite this being a 2020 release. Airbus A350-900 livery obviously is Luftwaffe. Aircraft type is Airbus A350-941. The serial number for this one was 416. The registration is 10+03. It's a military registration, obviously. The engines are two Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines, and the first flight of this particular airframe was February 21st, 2020. Maximum takeoff weight, 617,300 pounds, with a cruising speed of 561 miles per hour, giving a range of 9,320 miles. And overall here, we see our schematic view of the aircraft. Length is 219 feet 2 inches, height 55 feet 11 inches from the bottom of the main gear to the top of the tail, and then our wingspan of 212 feet 5 inches. So there you go, your schematic plan view of the aircraft. So obviously, it's the Gemini Macs box, but it is very much a Gemini Jets model. Gemini Jets releasing several variants of the A350-900 in many liveries already. And of course, it is the same mold here for the Gemini Macs release. With our aircraft rotating again, some more detailed specifications on the Airbus A350. And again, this is going to be for the civilian variants of the A350-900. There probably have been some modifications made to this particular aircraft for its unique role in military service and in government service, but we don't know about all of those modifications, I'm quite sure. So, for the civilian variant of the A350-900, it reads a little bit like this. As the box mentioned, the aircraft made its first flight on June 14th, 2013, and it made its commercial service introduction with Qatar Airways on 15 January 2015. And the aircraft, of course, remains in service today. Its primary users in the civil world being Qatar Airways, Singapore Airlines, Cathay Pacific, and Lufthansa, although Air France flies a number of these, as do Delta Airlines here in the United States, so quite a few users of the A350 as we currently see it in both the 900 and now 1000 variants. The aircraft has been produced since 2010 and it remains in production today. 379 of these aircraft have been delivered to civil customers as of September 30th of 2020 at a program cost of 11 billion euros. Unit cost for the A350-900 in US dollars, that's 317.4 million, with the Dash 1000 variant being a little bit more expensive at 366.5 million US dollars, both of those in 2018 dollars. So we'll see what 2020 inflation does to that. In terms of what's going on board, on the Dash 900 and Dash 1000, we have a cockpit crew of 2. So only a pilot and co-pilot or first officer are required to fly the airplane. A lot of the functions of a third cockpit crew member, be him a navigator or flight engineer, now obviated by modern avionics technology. We have an exit limit on the Dash 900 of 440. We've got an overall length of 66.8 meters or 219.2 feet. The wings on this thing, they're common between the Dash 900 and Dash 1000. The overall wingspan is 212.43 feet or 64.75 meters. The wings are swept back at 31.9 degrees. The wing aspect ratio on the Dash 900 is 9.49. That drops a little bit for the Dash 1000. Overall wing area is 442 square meters. That's 4,760 square feet. Overall height of the aircraft, 55 feet 1 inch. The fuselage dimensions, it's 19.7 feet or 5.96 meters wide, and it is 19.98 feet or 6.09 meters high. So there's the extra wide body configuration here for the A350. Overall cabin width is 18 feet 5 inches or 5.61 meters. So again, there you go in terms of habitable space inside the pressurized volume of the passenger cabin. Maximum takeoff weight is 280 tons or 617,295 pounds with a maximum payload of 53.3 tons or 18,000 pounds exactly. Fuel capacity is 140,795 liters or 37,194 US gallons. In weight, we're talking 243,662 pounds or 110,523 kilograms. Operating empty weight is 142.4 tons or 314,000 pounds. However, the typical ranges here can go between 134.7 to 145.1 tons. That's 297 to 320,000 pounds. Overall cargo capacity there, we've got 36 LD3s or 11 pallets there. Obviously, we're splitting the cabin between upper and lower decks for passengers, and then a cargo hold underneath the forward and rear sections of the cabin, respectively. Overall range, though, assuming that we are fully loaded, is 15,000 kilometers or 8,100 nautical miles. Our takeoff length, in terms of runway required, is 2,600 meters or 8,500 feet. And likewise, our landing distance is 2,000 meters or 6,600 feet. Service ceiling on the Dash 900 is 43,100 feet, that's 13,100 meters. The engines on all variants of the Airbus A350 are the Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines. They're very high bypass, very high efficiency turbofan engines. They produce a maximum thrust at sea level of 84,200 pound-feet or 374.5 kilonewtons. So there you go. Obviously, the specifications for this one in particular may differ somewhat because this is a military aircraft, but I'm going to say that most, if not all, are going to be very close, if not identical, to the A350-900 in its civil specifications, because one of the reasons that a military would go out and they would buy a consumer aircraft is for cost savings. And if you're going to be doing a whole lot of modifications to the aircraft, why did you bother going for a commercially available airplane when you could have gotten something custom built for you, which would have met all of your requirements anyway? Cost cutting, quite obviously. So again, some of the specs may be a little bit different for this particular aircraft, but for that, we have to speculate because I doubt Germany is going to be forthcoming with all of the technical details on this aircraft, which could be carrying, among other people, the German Chancellor. Taking a look at this now, for the sake of being the model that it is. Now, we have taken a look at the Airbus A350 by Gemini Jets before on the channel, and it very quickly became one of my favorite models, and I was really not expecting it to become one of my favorite models because, on the face of it, okay, it's another wide-body twin-engine jet. We have way too many of those for my liking in this world today, but it's a really uniquely designed airplane. This, like the Boeing 787, which is one of its competitors, you could say, this is an aircraft that makes extensive use of composite materials in its construction, both in the fuselage as well as in the wings. And you can see some of the consequences of using composite materials in the wings. They are very thin. They have these very nice open curving shapes to them, leading all the way out to the end fences there on the wing tips, which is there for efficiency purposes in terms of cutting down drag. It's really, really striking, and I very much like the overall shape and geometry and just overall design of the A350. It's a very unique looking aircraft, and again, somewhat similar to the 787 in terms of its outward appearances, but have a look at that nose. It's just a very unique sort of nose cone design leading up to the cockpit windows. It's, again, somewhat reminiscent of the 787, but the A350 nose is a bit more angular, I do believe, and it just creates a very interesting visual effect. In terms of Gemini Jets giving us models of the A350 throughout this year and the last couple of years, yes, they've given us many of them. We've got Air France, we've got Delta, we've got, I believe, Cathay, we've got Qatar, I believe, and obviously we have got this one in the Bundesrepublik Deutschland livery. So I like that quite a lot. And again, it just shows the diversity of carriers who operate this aircraft, and obviously in the case of this one, the governments that also operate the A350. So it's proving to be a very versatile airplane, and quite obviously I think it's going to be remaining in production and remaining in active service for quite some time to come. The age of the wide-body twin jet has absolutely arrived. This one then, similar to the Air France version of this aircraft that we took a look at some months ago, just as nicely done as that one was. Everything on here just looks complete and correct and prim and proper and sleek and modern. Everything looks good. I like the nose landing gear. I like the main landing gear. All the gears do roll, and the main gear do pivot as well, so you can pitch the airplane up on the ground if you wanted to display it that way with some jigs to support it. For an aircraft or airport diorama, it looks good. And again, as we remarked with the first A350 review, I really like the engine detail on this one as well. As the engines start to swing across again, take a look. I like that fan blade detail on the outside of the engine. Look at that. They are pass-through. You can see through them. They look really, really nice. In the same vein, the graphics detail on this one also really, really good. Getting a little bit closer to see some of that, perhaps. Yep, there you go. Like all of that, the graphics on here, they look crisp. They're totally readable. I don't really see too much smudging unless you look really, really close with a high-resolution camera, which this isn't really. But honestly, everything looks really, really nice. I like the German flag cheat line across the livery underneath the cabin windows. I like all of that little detail there. The silver area for the APU exhaust looks good. Luftwaffe branding there on the tail. Really, really, really nicely done Gemini jets. Really like their A350 molds, so much that I've got multiples, quite obviously. This is the second one that we've taken a look at, but I've got others where this came from. It's just, really, it's become one of my favorite aircraft and one of my favorite models. It's just a very unique and stately, in this case, looking airplane. Take a look first off here from a 3/4 forward shot of the port side of the aircraft, and there it is. There's your very distinctive nose shape on the A350. It looks good, and you can see the nose landing gear with the wheel and tire. That is plastic wheels with rubber tires over top of them. Looks good. The nose gear door there also looking good. Across the nose cone you can see the radar dome, and you can see the shut line there that has been detailed around the radar dome as well. It looks very, very good. And again, everything that I've been seeing so far from these models, as well as taking a look at the real airplane, looks correct as well. That's the important part. Moving up the nose, the cheat line there, you can see the German flag design looks good, punctuated by those static ports and air data ports along the port side of the nose tip, looking very nice. And then moving out toward the cockpit windows, you can see center line there on the cockpit windows, we do have windscreen wiper detail, and then we just have that anti-glare shield around the cockpit windows. Looks very, very good. We've got our L1 door here, and L2 door also visible there, and then we have our title graphics just aft of that, and above our first rows of cabin windows. Bundesrepublik Deutschland right there. Looks good. Then across the midship section of the front end, you can see more static ports along the side right there. And then we start to get into our wing spar area. We've got landing lights here in a cluster of 3. That's just a tapo print detail, but it's all correct. It looks there. And then we get to our engine and engine nacelle, main landing gear, and then our wing leading edge with our leading edge slats there. Going all the way out to our strobe here and a collision light, and then our end fence there for the wing, if the focus will settle down. Almost. Not quite. Oh well. But yes, you get the idea. Looking very, very nice here from this angle. Moving out more toward midship in the aft section of the airplane. You can see here we have got antennas. First of all, move back forward. We've got one antenna here, and then we have got antenna number 2 right there. Antenna number 3, which is a dome antenna there, probably for satellite phone and internet connectivity. And antenna number 4 right there just ahead of the vertical stabilizer. Looking good. And obviously we've got our L3 and L4 cabin entrance exit doors along there, heading to the tail cone and the empennage area on the aircraft. So far so good. Definitely very much liking what I'm seeing on this one. Take a look here from nose on at the A350. We'll zoom in here as close as sanity will allow, and we can start to see what's going on with our nose detail here. There we go. Looking nice. Obviously, from the nose tip, we've got ourselves the radar dome, and then you can see the shut line going around there as well from the basically the tempo printing there, trying to make a panel shut line between all of that. That looks really nice. I do like all of that. And obviously, you've got static ports along the sides of the nose as well, showing you here on the port and starboard sides for your air data probes. Looking good. Moving up, you can see, there we go, windscreen wipers, and then our cockpit windows. That all looks very good. And again, that nose line there, that nose profile just looks very dramatic on the A350. It's one of definitely the distinctive features of this airplane, and it does definitely look good. It's very eye-catching. Obviously, we've got our nose landing gear there. You can see the 2 wheels on the ground, and then moving aft there with our depth of focus, you can see that we have got ourselves our main landing gear behind. Looks all well and good, does it not? Yep. perhaps a little bit crooked there on our port side, inside main landing gear, but fine, the airplane's sitting fine on the ground, no problems. Moving outboard from the center line of the fuselage, there we go with our engine details. There are the intake sides of the engines, the starboard engine here, with our fan blade detail, and these are pass-through. We're blocking out some of the light behind there a little bit, so pass-through, and you can see that it's passed through really good. Leading edge of the wing, as you can see, that all looks good. I like all of that. It's a very smooth profile all the way out to the wingtip there with our end fence. Looking very good. I do like that, and obviously that's going to be complementary on the other side of the aircraft. Here we go again, inboard on the wing root, and you can see the landing light detail, and then moving out we have got ourselves our leading edge of the wing all the way out to the wingtip and the end fence. Looking really, really good, and again, I do appreciate what Gemini jets have done on these A350s and those engines in particular. They look really, really good. Not quite sure if they quite match up with the 787-10 engine detail from these guys, but it's mighty close. I do like that. Moving across the top side of the fuselage, there we go. Depth of focus has shifted toward the empennage, and you can see the leading edges of the empennage now with our vertical and horizontal stabilizers looking good. Also, we have got ourselves our antennas across the top side of the fuselage. Some of those toward the aft section coming into focus now, looking good. I like all of that. That dome antenna across the top looks real nice as well. But really, the A350, the distinctive features of it for me, it's the nose, and I do very much like the look of that nose. It's something unique, eye-catching, and it's definitely signature A350. From the starboard side of the A350, here we go. Take you toward the nose. There it is. So we have got ourselves our, first of all, starboard side of the nose with our pitot arrays there across the side of the nose, and then moving rearwards. First of all, over the cockpit, you can see one of the emergency egress hatches there where the cockpit crew could escape via escape rope if they needed to. Then we've got our R1 and R2 doors here. Also visible, we have got ourselves a registration number or fleet number, whatever you really want to call it here on this military aircraft, 1003. Below that, we have got forward cargo door. That all looks good. All tampo printing detail, of course. And then moving rears, we have got our title graphics, Bundesrepublik Deutschland. Moving rearward again, get to our engine nacelle. Nice detail on that. We don't have any Rolls-Royce branding on the engine nacelle there, as you might expect from a government aircraft, but undoubtedly that's going to be the Rolls-Royce XWB engine. And then moving out toward our wing there. Looks absolutely great. The underside of the wing with the little canoe fairings there to cover up some of the flap actuation architecture. We've got our main landing gear with our main landing gear door visible inboard there, and then moving outboard toward the wingtip. That looks very, very nice. And you can see that we've got our little German flag cheat line carried over onto the wingtip as well. It looks really, really nice. I do enjoy all of that. Moving rearward again, we have got ourselves our rear cargo hatch. Nice. More cabin windows below or above, and then a couple of them are blanked out at the end of that row. Our R4 door, and then moving up toward the tail cone, see it tapers upward, and then as we move upward, the rest of the vertical stabilizer now comes into view. Very, very nice. Luftwaffe branding, of course, on the vertical stabilizer, as is the flag of Germany visible up there. Number 03 also right up at the top where the reflection is right now, 03. And also we have got our shut line for our rudder control surface back here. Looks really, really good, and again, Gemini Jets doing a wonderful job here. It's a predominantly white livery, so perhaps some of the detail kind of gets muted with that, with the lack of contrast in some cases, but still, it looks absolutely wonderful. Also, on the horizontal stabilizer, you can see the little wedges there inboard of the wing structure where we have got ourselves our trim ability. So, obviously, the horizontal stabilizer could pitch fore and aft a little bit in terms of trimming the aircraft, of course, in addition to the control surfaces at the rear of the horizontal stabilizer for most of your pitch authority. But really, really cool, and definitely I'm very much liking what we see here on this A350 here in Luftwaffe colors. It's a bit of a unique model, but again, it looks really, really good because it's an A350. Coming in across the rear now of the A350, zooming into the tail cone. There we go. First of all, that silver area at the very rear of the airplane, that is the auxiliary power unit exhaust, done in silver, painted in silver. It looks good, and it does look like there's a little bit of detail in there in terms of showing an exhaust pipe. That all looks absolutely excellent, and obviously you can see the disposition of the horizontal stabilizer here. It looks absolutely straight and level, no problems with any of that. And then moving up with our vertical stabilizer, that also looks absolutely straight and level. The proportion is definitely completed there. Moving back down, you can see the trailing surfaces of our wings as well as the rear side of our main landing gear. All looks good. Nice strut detail as well, and nice view of the landing gear doors. Moving outboard here on the port side, there we go with our engine. You can see that we have got some decent detailing of the exhaust side of the engine. That all looks nice, and that is a pass-through, quite obviously. A little bit more apparent from this side, but yep, that's a pass-through on both engines. Trailing edge of our wing, there we go, with our upturn for the end fence. Looks marvelous. I do really like that they carried the cheat line of the German flag all the way up through the end fences. Looks good, and I'm sure it looks cool from on board too. Moving back toward midships and then out to the starboard side, trailing edge of the starboard wing with our engine detail on the exhaust side. Looks good. Then moving outboard to our wingtip yet again. Looks absolutely marvelous. No complaints at all from me. Looks like an absolutely wonderfully done model, because it is an absolutely wonderfully done model. Really do like these Gemini A350s. Now the port side of the A350 here, moving back forward, not quite as much detail to see on the port side because we don't have the cargo doors here, but nonetheless we do have our air data and static ports across the nose, and then moving back toward the midship section of the forward area of the fuselage. Obviously we have our title graphics, and we've got our registration graphic again, 1003, looking good. Our L1 and L2 doors, looks good. I have another little port right here below this window. Not entirely sure what that is, but that is not a paint defect. That's supposed to be there. Don't quite know what that is, but it's there regardless. Over here we have got, I believe this would be a coat of arms of Germany here. Looking good. Engine nacelle here for the port engine. You can see the exhaust cone there in the engine detailing, as well as some graphics on the nacelle itself. Looks good. I like that silver paint across the intake side of the nacelle, and I like how it carries over to the lower surface a little bit. Looking very nice there. Moving aft toward our wing, our underside of the wing here, you can see a little bit here. You can see that we have one of the Mannheim crosses underneath there. That is one of the insignias of the German military, and that is there. Moving out, you can see a little service hatch in this section. Not quite sure what it's for, but you can see it. And then moving up once again, we have got ourselves horizontal and vertical stabilizers. And there are the graphics there on the vertical stabilizer, Luftwaffe, and then the German flag. Looks good. Looks really, really good. Absolutely no complaints for me about this. Absolutely wonderful airplane, and this absolutely wonderful 1/400 scale rendition thereof. Looks really, really nice. We'll go freehand and take some closer looks at some of the details that perhaps we couldn't get quite close in enough to see before. There's our nose section. That looks really good. You can see we've got a fleet number there on our nose gear doors, 03, plainly evident there. And then the nose section itself with a very distinctive A350 profile. Cockpit windows look really nice as well. Very, very good. Very pleased with what I'm seeing here. There is our antenna across the top side of the forward end of the fuselage, looking good. And then out to our wing spar, wing root area, looking good. Engine nacelle visible there with our intake side of the engine, with our little cone in the fan hub with a little dollop of silver on there, looking good. And the fan blades look really good as well, quite evidently. Moving outboard, you can see the slats from the leading edge of the wing. And over top of the wing, you can see that we have got ourselves a Mannheim cross there as well. Looks good. All the shut lines for the flaps, anti-collision light there for our strobe, and then the end fence there on the wing. Looking absolutely marvelous. Across to the other side, there's the starboard engine with our little strake, obviously also evident on the port engine. And then Mannheim cross, German flag there for the wingtip. See our shut lines for our flaps on the trailing surface of the wing, obviously also visible on the port wing. And then across the top of the fuselage, got your anti-collision beacon light, some more details of other antennas and hatches that are just printed on here. Actual antennas visible across the top. There's your dome antenna looking good. And then your last antenna before you get into the empennage of the aircraft. Looks absolutely marvelous. Again, I don't really have any criticisms to levy in this thing's general direction. It just looks absolutely great. Nothing at all to complain about. It looks absolutely wonderful. And again, it's a little bit of an interesting model to have it in a livery like this from an operator like this, but again, it's the A350. It's a great airplane, and obviously some very high-profile people trust it to take them wherever they need to go around the world. And with the range that this thing has, it can pretty much go anywhere in the world. Absolutely awesome feat of engineering, and of course this is going to remain par for the course for the foreseeable future in the aviation industry, because as the name of the game starts to get more toward efficiency and less toward overall just raw capacity, yeah, airplanes like the A350, like the 787, they're going to continue to set new standards for what efficiency means in the airline industry, and quite evidently government operators have taken notice as well. Marvelous aircraft. So there it was in 1/400th scale by Gemini Jets, the Airbus A350-900 here in Luftwaffe colors. It's a unique sort of aircraft. It's a September 2020 release. It's a government operator. It's a military operator. And it's a civil jet. So it's unique in those regards in that it is basically an unchanged civil jet, one that is available on the open market and one that is in service with a menagerie of civil carriers right now, but it's also being used by some governments around the world, including the government of the Federal Republic of Germany. Obviously, as we see from the livery here. I don't know entirely what the actual service purpose of this aircraft is for Germany other than VIP transport. I know that the German Chancellor does fly on an aircraft like this sometimes, particularly for international travel, but it's doing other things as well for Germany, I am sure. Is it really doing any sort of tactical missions for the German military? I seriously doubt it. It's an airliner. It doesn't really have the capacity for really high-speed, fast maneuvering, but who knows what they could be doing with this aircraft. In terms of modifications that they've made to it, that too remains a mystery to us, because I'm sure that they will not exactly be forthcoming with modifications made in terms of electronic or defensive countermeasures, things like that. But I'm sure systems like that, much like systems like that, have been fitted to the 747-200 that currently serves the President of the United States as Air Force One. I'm sure that this aircraft has also had some modifications made to it in the name of safety and security for the very important people that it's going to be carrying day in and day out. But aside from that, it's the Airbus A350 by Gemini Jets, and Gemini Jets have done an absolutely wonderful job with their A350s. They've released many of these in the past couple of years. They're all absolutely wonderful. I have a few of them. They're absolutely wonderful 1/400 scale models. If you don't have an A350 yet, definitely consider taking a look at the Gemini Jets versions of the aircraft in any livery and in any configuration, because they've done an absolutely wonderful job on all of them. This one absolutely is no exception to that general trend. Until next time, though, I do hope that you have enjoyed this one. Ferrari Man 601 saying thank you very much for watching, and of course, we will see you soon.